Is this the greatest banner ever? We're going to talk about each one of these units, their strengths, their weaknesses, how they rank, how their fodder is. But these are the units you voted for. And I want to know in the comments, which one are you most excited about? Who do you want to be your free unit? Now, first off, I want to move over and just look at the tier list. And you can see this all looks pretty good. Here are the units we ended up with. And this is amazing. If you remember my original analysis, I said anything from B tier and up is excellent. And we had every one of the S tier units in there. And in A tier, we had 2. The only one I had in B was Ayra. And Ayra is easily the best legendary right now. So this is excellent. And I am really excited about this. I can't wait to talk about this. This is what the bracket looks like. Now, remember, this is not like most years. These units aren't going to get voted off and then we don't get to summon on them till a loser's bracket. All of these will be on one banner with no pity breakers. There are a lot of advantages to that. In the very end of this video, we'll talk about strategies and where units fit the best. But this is a good deal. These units are incredible. And first off, I want to talk about a snake.
One more can't hurt.
Níðhöggr started off a huge bit of power spike, and we have been dealing with it ever since. Having this unit up here is pretty amazing. And remember, mythics in general, offensive mythics, are one of the last good merge project things you can work on. This unit is no exception, and let's just look at all of the stuff this unit does. Enticing Dose has slaying, pre-combat damage, a lot of daunts, piercing, true damage, flat DR, a lot of flat DR, distant counter. After an action, this unit deals out attack defense -7 and sabotage to opponents, and that is a big deal because that is much, much harder to cleanse. Divine Toxin has Beast Transformation, a lot of in-combat buffs, lulls, which are incredible. You have cooldown acceleration, you have null guard, and then to units and allies within 2 spaces, you get an Omni +5, you get healing, and then cancels Essence Drain. What all of this means, there will come a time when this unit is not going to be as useful as a combat unit. It's just going to happen. There is a lot of here that is supportive in nature though, and that means that this unit's shelf life is going to be longer than you would expect, which is really what you need in an offensive mythic. Let's look at how this unit functions though, and this unit was released in November. They score 768, which is definitely usable in Arena, and I know all of you have been plagued by this unit in Arena, as I have. If you look at units that pair best with this, I have to bring up the fact this is a unit that doesn't get stats as a tank. Now, that doesn't mean as much right now, but what it does mean is that you need units that add on bonuses that help you. Units like Ecthenir give out bonus doubler, and of course we've got Hathrin here, and Micaiah. All of these units can cleanse and buff and debuff and really help you without having to give you stats. Right now, this unit is fantastic in Aether Raid's offense and Summoner Duels and Arena. Really, the only place you don't want to use this unit is defense, and that's because, well, offense has such a huge advantage that you need to take advantage of those stats as much as possible. But if we look at a build and how exactly you want to build this unit, right now, Hardy Bearing is huge. Higher Ground is really what you want to replace her C skill with. This is the only unit here that I don't really like her fodder as much. And you're replacing a lot of that, but Slick Fighter still stays, and Divine Toxin is, of course, amazing with, of course, Sturdy Beast. I have Reposition Gate up there. Honestly, that's kind of a flex at this point, but this unit can function very well in this regard. And you can see, because you're using your mythic as a carry, it means you have chances for extra supports elsewhere. And that's where New Year's Hathrin comes in, and also Rhea. Although you can put someone else here and just use her as an Omni tank, this unit is very flexible. If we're looking at her fodder, As I just said, I don't like her fodder as much as other folks, and there are some good uses for Slick Fighter. I'm going to have a very good one coming up, but right now I'm highlighting Sturdy Beast and how good it is on Asker. Asker's Refine is coming up in a matter of months, and I don't think he's going to get Sturdy Beast. So while I would hold off on building this exact build right here, this is still a great thing to be able to give him. But like I said, Níðhöggr's fodder is a bit of a challenge. When we're looking at the Astra rankings, the only unit I have above her is Plumeria, and we've talked about this, but in every single team you put together on Aetherid's offense, Plumeria has to be there. But there are so many places that you can use Níðhöggr right here, it's hard to not put her in tier 0. I just listed off a bunch: offense, arena, summoner duels. PvE, this unit is a blast to use, just not a blast to go up against. But next we're going to go over a different kind of tank.
Let's have some fun!
About 6 months back, Enemy coined the term rearmed privilege. And what this is really talking about is the fact that these units get to keep their preference things while still swapping other things out. What I'm saying is, if you don't like Desert Spear here in a year, then you could swap it out with whatever latest rearmed spear and not give up Sandstorm, which is incredibly powerful. Or any of the echo skills can be swapped in and out with this unit. We're going to do that in just a second. But this unit is very powerful, and one of the really fun things about this unit is her reliance on defense instead of attack. That really changes the way she plays and helps you a ton. One of the downsides is that really has her relying on Sandstorm as a special. We'll talk about that, but let's just go over exactly what everything's doing. If we look at Desert Spear, you have Slaying, Distant Counter, Bulwark, which is really, really powerful. You have in-combat buffs, Flat DR, Omni Lull, and lulls are incredibly influential right now. To allies, you get more flat DR and buffs. And Sandstorm, and this is really what we're talking about here, has a damage boost based on defense. And that is huge. Most of the damage that this unit is going to do relies on proccing Sandstorm as many times as you possibly can. You also get some additional unpierceable DR as well as frozen based on defense, which is really powerful. But that times pulse echo effect is good on this unit, and it's good on a lot of other infantry units. Let's look at this unit's role, and at 766 you're probably not going to be using this in arena, but honestly you could definitely use her. But this unit is from September and still going strong. Units that this pairs best with are anything that helps her with AoEs, which Lumera is absolutely one of the best because of the range you can be away from her. But also units like Lucina. Lucina is fantastic at giving this unit buffs, particularly null follow-up, and then helping clean up at the very end. Another thing that's really important is the ability to stop warping. And I mean, it is helpful that this unit has Bulwark, but stopping warping can really pin the defense back. And there are a lot of crazy ways that defenses get mobility right now. This unit is one of the few that has a chance to tank them and really be victorious there. But she's also a fodder factory, which is fantastic. If we look at her fodder and what she's handing out, I really want to pinpoint in on the B skills. You guys have seen these A and C skills. They're all incredible. And the specials, I mean, we have Haze Slice right now. But in particular, things that cost 4 different inherit slots that are on one specific unit are hard to give out. We have a lot of Lagoo's Friend, but we don't have a lot of Lagoo's Loyalty. Same with Momentum. Instead of having to summon additional Sigurds off of a legendary banner, you can get one, give them to Timerra, and she's on multiple banners per year and help you give that very powerful momentum skill off to different units. It can help you build things like Dogger, and Dogger is one of the most versatile units in the game, and the fodder you can get from Timerra really pushes her over the top and makes her usable in a lot of different modes. This is an incredible build for this unit and something you can do with the help of Timerra. If we're looking at an ideal build right now, understand that it's hard to really put this into screen mode because there are so many things competing for that C skill. We're going to talk a little more about this, but Bonus Doubler, as a commenter has brought up, is less powerful now because you have so many units with Dull All. Bonus Doubler 4, though, remember, actually pulls stats off of nearby units that have bonuses, which make it a lot better, and I still find it to be my go-to for units that need every single stat. And Omni tanks absolutely do. I don't like Legu's loyalty on her just yet. She really needs piercing, and I think Legu's Friend 4 works perfectly with her. It's that C skill that really gets dicey. Right now I have Odd Speed Wave to give her null follow-up, but there's a lot of ways you can get null follow-up, and also you're going to need Breath of Life on this unit. But also, you have to have some way to get that extra cooldown on Sandstorm. What I've elected here is to give her null follow-up and then get cooldown from some other unit in the form of Infantry Pulse or something else. Remember that first combat is always the most important. So, there are a lot of ways to deal with this unit. She is a lot of fun though, and she has a lot of versatility now and will later, as you can see with the Null Sea Disrupt Echo skill. As far as rankings go, I have her as one of the top Omni tanks in the game. This unit is one of the very few that can compete at that level because it is hard to Omni tank. So, if you're looking at using her in this way, I think you're going to have a lot of fun. If you're looking to use her as a fodder factory, I think you're going to have a lot of fun in that way as well.
You will pay for this.
Ayra is an incredible melee nuke and can just absolutely wreak havoc on the enemy team. I am so happy that IS finally stopped being scared of this unit and gave us a good ult, but this unit's claim to fame is being able to defeat Shield Fighter. That is so huge and what really makes this unit special. If we look at the weapon and the preference skill, the weapon is slaying and a ton of M-Combat buffs and potent at 100%, which is excellent. We have true damage, we have flat DR, we have special flat DR, and as far as bonuses to other units, you have attack speed +6, potent follow-up that you're given as a bonus to other units, and Omni Lull. We talked about how powerful that is right now. These are 3 excellent supportive things that this unit can do. When we're looking at Crusaders Astra, we have damage boost of 40% times speed, we have piercing, we have preempt pulse and follow-up preempt pulse, and disabling defensive specials, which is huge and what really makes this unit special. And then of course we have DR in the special, which means it is not pierceable. The big thing you want to look at for this unit is just annihilating tanks, and in particular armors. It's what this unit was designed for. She was released in January of 2025 and scores a 768, which, keep in mind, for a legendary is very good at this point. As far as best friends, I really have to zoom in on Ninian right there, and I'm thinking more about Arena because it's where I see this unit as alleviating a lot of frustrations. Pairing her with Ninian is so incredibly powerful. But the other thing, anytime you can give her brave hits through something like Marissa, this unit really shines. We talked about the role, but Shield Fighter is so prevalent in the meta right now, and this unit takes it off the map. It's hard to give you guys a best build right now because this is just her out of the box. I think the only thing I would replace is Sly Swift Sparrow in the A skill because I really think you need to work on making this unit hit hard for as long as possible. Like this unit needs to really crank out as much damage as she possibly can. But the thing I want to bring up is, as good as Brutal Tempest is, and as nice it is to have Kanto on an infantry unit, there will come a time when you want something else, like for instance attack speed hone. So keep that in mind as you are getting this unit and building her up. Now, as far as the team I've got her on a water team with Ninian and then of course Duochrome. And these two together, they've been around for a while, so it's possible that you already have them in your barracks. It's Ayra's bonus season right now, so I'm using both of these units in conjunction with Ayra, and it's been a lot of fun. This unit really smacks things, but what about her fodder? So this is funny, and someone brought this up, and I can't not say this. This is the Ayra we have at home. So we've taken the entire Ayra kit, and giving it to Dimitri because, you know, he needs the love. Like really, really needs the love. But honestly, in terms of arena, this makes this unit compete pretty well. I'm pretty happy with this build. I've got this in Binding Worlds, and I'm going to be spending my Binding Worlds on this. I just wish they had Reposition Gate, but you guys know how it goes. You can't be perfect. But back to this unit. This is a great way to revamp an old unit, and there are a lot of folks that have Dimitri merged up. The great thing about this banner is there's a good chance that you'll have an Ayra drop into your lap if you're summoning on red for either her or someone else. You can take that fodder and help Dimitri out a ton. As far as legendary rankings, we talked about it. This is one of the best legendaries in the game, and I think the best legendary in water season, but also the best water legendary right now, just because of all the places you can use her. I love Ninian. My Ninian is amazing, but I can't use her in as many places as Ayra does. I would never put Ninian in Summoner Duels. She just doesn't work very well there. Ayra, however, can blow things up that are frustrating you. But next up, we want to talk about an armor that other folks are having trouble blowing up.
Gutsy, aren't you?
This Hector is one of my favorites right now and is sneaky good as a support as well as a unit. I am having just a ton of fun, and he is my defensive savior right now. And I think that's where he really shines, is Aether Raid's defense. But that doesn't mean he doesn't shine in other modes as well. Let's take a look at what the weapon does. And this is Fellowship Blade, has Slaying, a ton of Daunts at -16, Guard, True Damage, Flat DR, and to units and allies in 2 spaces at the start of both phases, you get Defense Res +6, Bulwark, which is incredibly powerful right now, and Null Panic, which really works into the true damage based on Treachery. Now, Oath of Ostia has HP +5, Divine Vein Stone, and in Aether Raids, this activates at the beginning of the turn, so when the offense attacks on that first turn, it is active, which is incredible considering all of the crazy AoE effects that are out right now. You have additional Daunts to attack and defense. You have Null Guard, you have Special Jump, which is of course awesome, you have Piercing, and then you have Distant Counter Echo, which is a little bit niche, to be honest with you, but when you can use it, it is incredible. Let's look at where this unit fits in best, though. One interesting thing to note on this unit is that 770 is pretty good in Arena. This unit can absolutely compete there. This is a recent unit in December, and you can hand out a lot of great fodder, as one of the greatest things about this unit is being a fodder factory. More on that in a second. As far as units that this works best with, absolutely Rhea. Rhea and him are best buds, but you have Hathrin and Freyr that can help him out a ton. It feels like a lot of defenses right now have almost gone closer to the old school armor balls than anything else, and this unit helps you do that. They are incredible. I want to talk about the fodder though, because in particular, armored fodder is rare and very powerful, especially Shield Fighter, but we also have Slick Fighter and Wily Fighter as well. All of these are excellent, and I mean, we keep on talking about B skills, but they are where the power creep is happening right now. If we look at where we would use this unit, I mean, you've all seen this Marnie, right? This Marnie is running rampant in Arena right now. And there's that Slick Fighter that I talked about, along with Attack, Defense, Twin, and Save. All of these can be handed over from Hector, including the Distant Counter Echo. This is an incredible build and is kind of the go-to right now for a reason. It's incredibly powerful. She's got a lot of attack to her as well, and honestly is just a menace and will be for quite some time. If you're looking at building this up, you can get a lot of these pieces from this A Hero Rises, and I think this would be a good use of your fodder. If we're looking at specific builds to Hector, I still think you have to go with Shield Fighter. There was a hot minute where I think Wily Fighter was good enough that it was just fine, but that minute has passed. Shield Fighter is the way to go as a far save. You pair that up with, of course, Aegis, and Briar far save is incredible on this unit, especially in conjunction with Shield Fighter. It's probably my go-to C-skill for saves right now, and keep in mind it's a skill that, again, he can hand out. Hardy Bearing is just a necessity, and of course you have Distant Counter Echo, but keep in mind this is a unit that is in a prime position to, whenever ranged nukes get too powerful, you swap out that Echo skill to something else and you move him over to a near save. He'll still have a lot of value as one, and giving out Bulwark and Divine Vein Stone will be powerful for quite a while. I'm a big fan of this Hector. If we're looking at where he ranks, I've got him as the most valuable fodder factory in the game right now. I know technically Timerra has more to give out, but the problem is where she's at right now, Omni tanks don't hold as much value as armors. Hector's specific fodder is critical to a lot of builds that you need for different modes like Aether Raids defense and Summoner duels. Being able to hand stuff like that out is a great deal, and it's why I have this unit ranked so high, as well as being such an influential unit. But speaking of influential units, we're going to go over one of the most influential in the game right now.
A stealthy
Finish.
It's difficult to go into any mode right now and not see Lucina. Lucina is just a force to be reckoned with, and it's easy to see why. She just has everything, as well as being a fantastic support unit. Let's just go straight into the weapon, and you have Elise Ninja Bow, you have Slang, Dual Phase Brave, which is almost never a bad thing. You have in combat buffs, you have true damage, you have piercing, null guard, and of course preempt pulse. The duo skill is granting another action and re-enabling Canto, which there are a couple modes where particularly that is really good, not to mention PvE, which is a lot of fun to use there. But then we have Future Focus, and essentially when you swap you get another action, as we've seen with so many Lucinas and Chroms in the past. But this other piece here, now this is to units within 2 and to the ally, you get special cooldown, which we've seen how long that has kept Chrom. We've seen how long that has kept Duo Chrom relevant. You get NFU, Canto 2, and in combat +5, player phase scowl, and flat DR of 7. That is incredibly powerful, and it doesn't matter what phase or what mode you're on. This unit is the jack of all trades right now. Let's talk a little bit about the rolls. This unit was released back in November, scores 770, which we love. That's a very good score. As far as best friends, where do you want to pair this unit up? One of the great things you can do is on offense with some of your save teams, this unit can actually go in and clean up, because honestly, units are very, very bulky right now. You can also pair her with folks like Emblem Lyn, and they are a very powerful combination if you want to be able to take as many units out before the safety fence 2 finally crumbles. The other thing you want to look at is folks that interrupt undefended. And here I've got Layla listed, but obviously you have Larother as well. Any time where you can avoid having to go up against the really bulky shield fighter units, it's a good thing. This unit can hit 4 times, so they are able to get around it, but I do find that you have different ways in order to keep those units alive, like Rhea right now. So anytime you can circumvent those units, it's a good deal. But the biggest thing is this unit is very good at killing things and very good at supporting things. That is a powerful combination. If you're looking at the build highlight, right now I have her on an offensive team where she's just going to go in and obliterate stuff. The team that I have her on right now is basically using her as the 7th offensive unit, and this is probably the most used 7th offensive unit in the game, much more than Felix, and it's easy to see why. To be honest, she gets more actions and kills more things. That is the deal, and that is not to be taken for granted, as again, it is easy to get locked at the end of a game if a unit is just too powerful for you to take out, like that pesky Rhea. This unit can help you a ton with those units. But again, anywhere you want to use this unit is good. As far as the build, this unit is good out of the box, but there are some slight changes you can make. Slice Swiss Sparrow is probably the best, and the extra true damage you get is can be really crucial. I tried really hard to take that detect skill out of the B. The problem is putting exposure mid-turn is good in just about every mode right now, and there probably will be a better B skill eventually, but for right now, I really like that on her. And then you have attack speed, Insight, Hone. This again is a slight upgrade, but I do like this on her. Having a Insight and then the extra stats is very powerful. So this is one of the many things you can do with this unit, but she's good base kit. As far as her fodder, I thought this was interesting. Now, listen, this is one of those, you can build all of this on Ymir, but just having Detect on there is incredibly powerful. Keep in mind, as she swaps, she cleanses all the debuffs on your team and then throws debuffs on the other team. And for the places where you use Ymir, this is really handy and powerful. But I mean, that Detect skill can be used on a couple different units. Honestly, fodder-wise, this is one of the weaker units of the batch, but we forgive her because she is so incredibly powerful. As seen from our support heroes tier list, which I currently have her in tier 0 easily. Keep in mind, when you get to tier 0, a lot of the times this is depending on what you need, and there are a lot of ways that you could want Larother over Lucina, but there are a lot of ways where you could want that flipped. The thing with Larother is he's so unique, and there are a lot of places where you would want Lucina over Larother, no doubt. What Larother does is a little more unique though, and that's why he's over her in this case. But again, for instance, if you wanted to use Arena as an example, Lucina's the way to go. So this is an incredibly competitive tier list, and she easily ranks at the top. And here we have yet another snake. we have 2 Níðhöggr's, because of course we do. Why wouldn't we? This one has higher ground though, which is an incredibly powerful C skill. Most of what you see from these 2 units is the same. There are some key differences though, and we'll go back through. This is New Year Fang. We have Slaying, pre-combat damage. We have Daunts, because of course we do. We have that twin save effect, true damage, flat DR, distant counter. The support is very different from this unit. This unit gives out Hexblade, Piercing, and Defense Res +6. That is good in different places, particularly though that Piercing can come in very handy. When we look at Divine Toxin, all of that is exactly the same. That is Beast Transformation, some in-combat stats, lull attack defense, and then you have cooldown acceleration and null guard. And then again, to units and allies within 2 spaces, you get an Omni +5, 10 HP post-combat, and you cancel Essence Drain. So, I give the edge just a little bit to Mythic Níðhöggr if we're talking about straight up skills. I think the things she does, and particularly adding debuffs in the middle of a turn, are slightly more powerful, but I don't think that is enough to put her over this unit, because the additional buffs you get from units in Aether Raids is such a big deal. That means this unit will be able to be used in more modes for longer. It's why I give the edge to this unit, although keep in mind, Mythics in general, we talked about changing that other Níðhöggr to a support unit, and that's not a meme. That is very possible and is something that you could use her in that specific role for longer. If we're looking at individual roles, we have saving things, because that's what this unit does. And I mean, we'll talk about the different things, but as a near savior or a far savior, this unit is very, very good. This unit was released just in January, scores again at 768, which is very usable, and we've all seen her in Arena. This is probably the more popular unit because you can use her in every season in Arena. Best friends, she loves Rhea, but every single save loves Rhea right now. And of course, Hathrin and Freyr to cleanse away things and to give her, Divine Nectar. let's look a little bit at the build here. And I wanted to showcase the fact that you could definitely make this unit into a near save. And in this particular one, well, we'll talk about what happens to Rhea in just a little bit, but this is not a meme. This unit is an amazing near save and is absolutely something you can do with her, and she is incredible there. You've seen this defense before. This is that same armor ball-like defense, and basically you have just Sigurd, and he comes out and rallies or swaps and then is able to hopefully smack the backline of the opponent while letting this unit either tank or fly in if you manage to give her the Celceta seal and kill things, because these units do hit very hard. If we're looking at her fodder, we have the ultimate Rhea, and in particular it's that higher ground skill that we're giving out that is just critical. Now, if you're building this Rhea, you really need all of these pieces. This is pushing her to the very edge, but this is a very powerful unit. But if I'm being honest, if you want to revamp any beast or dragon as a far save, higher ground is going to help you a ton. Also, keep in mind, if you have the correct pre-fodder, you can get higher ground and slick fighter at the same time. So something to look out for. I just wish higher ground was available on more units, but maybe I don't, because that would make the warping wars even more lopsided. We're going to go back to the Omni Tank tier list here, and I have this unit as the best Omni Tank in the game. I know we don't traditionally put armors there, but I think this is the exception. She fits everything an Omni Tank is supposed to do, which is stand out there alone and just keep from being obliterated because all the units just ting off of her. She's incredible, and there are definitely weaknesses, and folks in SD will tell you that I have this unit that counters her every time. But the fact is, in every team you make, in Aether-Aid's defense, Aether-Aid's offense, Arena, SD, you are having to account for this unit. So do you have a counter? Yes, but you are forced to field a counter for this unit. And that is why she is so influential to the game right now. But let's talk about another unit that just absolutely broke things.
You must understand.
Sigurd is almost a relief because, I mean, we just came from so much text that I had trouble fitting it onto one screen. And we go to this, which honestly, this is fairly simple. But this unit is very focused in what exactly he does, and he's very, very good at it. Let's look at the weapon here. We have Holy War Spear, Slang. You have a conditional 14 to all stats, which is incredible. You have a lot of true damage, and that stacks onto AoEs. You have 50% piercing, plus 2 movement in the form of Gallop. You have healing, you have Canto 3, and then you have Override. And that's what's truly special about this unit, because you have a huge AoE range at full damage of 1.5. That is incredible. The other thing is, if you attack and damage more than one unit, you get another action. So it's just free Gale Force there, as well as damage reduction, which this unit is deceptively bulky. As far as the Emblem Ring, you're giving out some additional damage, some Canto conditional on your range, and +1 movement. All of those are really nice and can help a lot of older units, I'm looking at you melee calves, really show up. If we're looking at the role, this one is pretty obvious. This unit was released all the way back in September and is still wreaking havoc. 762 is on the lower side of Arena. You can use him there, and I have, but most of the time you're going to want a higher scoring unit. If we look at units this pairs best with, I have to bring up Edelgard here, and we've kind of come into a meta that when you do Gale Force, because you don't need as many dancers, you're going to have 2 units that have a ton of actions. And the things that these 2 units kill are so diametrically opposed that they match really well together. Anything that doesn't get killed by AoEs likely has Shield Fighter, and that means you've got Edelgard to take that out, and vice versa. Any armors that are able to stop Edelgard get smashed by AoEs. But another thing to bring up is anything that extends the range of this unit. Pathfinder and Doggers in particular are great with him, as well as any unit that interrupts saviors like Larother. Best rolls, Gale Force and Uber Nuke. This unit doesn't require a whole lot of thought. This unit goes in and smashes things. Period. And spreads damage everywhere, just carnage. This is yet another unit that can work right out of the box. If you are upgrading, I do like Sly Sturdy Blow. I don't know how many times I can say it, but true damage is really good. You are absolutely keeping momentum for the foreseeable future. And then you have attack speed and sight hone. I know that's attack speed, but also at full investment, this unit is not exactly slow. You can stack speed on this unit, but regardless of that, you're probably looking for attack, defense, and sight hone, and when that comes out, that'd be perfect, but that will do just fine the way it is right now with attack speed. The big thing there, though, is the C skill is a little bit open, and I have Shadow Shift on mine, but when I'm running this unit on defense, I run Fatal Smoke still, because Fatal Smoke 4 is very powerful. The C skill is flexible, and it depends on who you're going up against. The defense that you see here is an Infantry Pulse special, where he has a fantastic time destroying things with Dimitri, and Larothra causes trouble, and of course, Hathrin does as well. So anyway, these are units that pair well with Sigurd just in general. As far as fodder goes, the thing about Momentum 4 that we don't really talk about is it's not really a meta B skill. What it is good at is helping out older units, and I think that's why it's so much fun and so sought after in general. This is a great example on this OG Edelgard. I mean, this is the build on her. This is fantastic and gives you Blazing Wind instantly. This unit can still smash things, but keep in mind we have a lot of stuff because of Sigurd that stops AoEs. And so it's a little harder to get these units to work now, but that's not to say they're bad at all. This is a very, very fun build, and this unit can be a ton of fun. As far as melee nukes go, I still have the Hresvelgers over Sigurd, but that's not to say this unit is bad or has lost a step, which is surprising. I would have expected him to be more countered by now. And technically we do have Hector, who provides Divine Vein Stone a lot more readily, but I still find this unit getting the job done more often than not just because of how many spaces he moves. It is so easy to get to the unit's backline. The joke is that IS forgot that they didn't have the genealogy-sized maps when they did this, and they forgot that we had these little slim, narrow things on our phones. This unit is a big part of the mobility crisis that we're in now, but when he's on your team, you don't really care because he's a ton of fun.
A favorable wind.
You all voted for 2 emblems on this banner, and this one is incredibly busted and has a lot of good things about her. One of the overlooked things that this unit has brought to the game is styles, which is essentially a way to give another unit a duo skill. And once we start getting more of these, I think we're going to really take in how crazy this is. But Summoners, this unit is nuts, and we're gonna see a lot more of what she brings in the form of styles. Let's go for the weapon though. This is Lady's Bow, and this is Slaying. You get attack speed plus 17, you have true damage piercing, you have potent follow-up, and then to units and allies, this is a big thing. All of these units have both incredibly offensive sides and then incredibly supportive sides. This is incredible, but attack speed plus 6, desperation, and preempt pulse are all really, really good. With Astra Forma, you have additional damage, and here's where you get into Astra Style. Now, this is the first unit where I had to break this off into 2 separate description styles because Astra Style for this unit is different than for other units. Now, we have Counter Disrupt with definitely some restrictions there. We have the unit can't move. You can use Fixed Canto, however, and you get a range of 6 tiles in 3 rows and 3 columns. That can only be used once a turn, but this is obviously like the GBA Ballista, which is funny since, I mean, those were so prevalent in Fire Emblem 7. But let's look at Glimmering, and you get the additional damage, which is nice. You get the Counter Disrupt, unit can't move, only Fixed Canto. we disable duo and harmonize skills on units that have them, and that is something that I have forgotten a couple times when I tried to give this to Lucina and regretted my life's decisions. But we only have a range of 5 tiles, which actually puts this on par with the Celceta ring. The difference is you don't have to move to the other unit, and so it makes hit and run much, much easier. The other thing to note is you can't use AoEs in conjunction with this. The biggest thing though is how often you can use it. You can't use it on turn 1, and it needs 2 turns to cool down, which means if you use it on turn 2, then you won't be able to use it again till turn 4. Still incredibly powerful, especially in conjunction with the new Safety Fence 2, which means that you can take out a lot of the opposing team before they can even move if you combine your Lyn ring unit with Lyn. That is a lot. That is a huge change in Aether raids, and it's been interesting. Let's go over the use cases. This is another unit like Sigurd that you don't have to think a whole lot. This is absolutely a supportive nuke and a ballista like we talked about. This unit scores 762, but you'll be forgiven if you take your merged up Lyn into Arena just because you can, because she's going to be a ton of fun there. More often than not, though, as far as Arena goes, you're probably going to be using her in Arena Assault, which she is incredible in. As far as best friends, you want to get off as many hits as possible, period. And so anyone that gives you Miracle so you can get off more hits, or gives you Brave so you can get off more hits, or Disrupt Saviors so you can get off hits to the right thing, you get my drift here. This unit wants to hit things and hit things many, many times, and she's good at it. So you try to help her as much as possible, and good things happen. If we're looking at the ideal build, this is another unit that her fodder is not incredible, so you kind of have to swap things around. Right now, what I have here is Sly Swift Sparrow, which in case you haven't seen is one of my very favorite A skills right now, and I actually have Fatal Smoke 4 on her, and that is because Rhea has become so prevalent that you need to be accounting for that right now. The other thing I want to mention, I know this isn't inheritable, but attack speed form is normally something you think of with tanks, but with Lyn or with Lyn ring users, she's going to be back into your units, not so much into the fray, and that means that it is easier to get that the bonuses from attack speed form as opposed to something else. It is incredibly powerful and something you want to look at if you're not already using it. As far as the fodder goes, I've got Speed Taker is incredibly powerful, and this is not the most powerful build, but I do want to bring up the ability to get a lot of units true damage that didn't have it before. Remember, this unit has Brave Hits, and Brave Hits are incredibly powerful if you combine with things like Speed Taker and Slice with Sparrow, which both give you true damage. It makes a unit that a lot of you have merged up from A Hero Rises past and helps make them relevant again, especially when you combine it with something like Lethality to just hit and hit and hit and lethality away, and then things blow up. It's a lot of fun. As far as ranged nukes go, I still have her under Lucina, but I mean, if you counted in how easy it was to use her, maybe you would give her the edge there. Both of them are very special units though, and anyone in tier 0 is amazing. Just let me make sure you guys understand that. And Lyn is no exception. Okay, hold on. I know this is a lot of numbers on here, and a lot of you guys see my charts and you're like, run away! This is important though, and there are a couple things I want to mention. For one thing, color sharing gets a bad rap. Understand that most of us are not plus 10ing these units, and if you're looking at summoning one unit, it doesn't really change your odds. I know there are people out there who, when they summon, well, for instance, on this banner, there was someone who's going to be going for Sigurd, and they get Timerra, and they get Níðhöggr instead. So the thing is, if you were to look at those same odds, you took those exact same odds and moved them over somewhere else, what would have happened is you would have gotten nothing. So basically, while you're waiting in pain to get Sigurd, you were able to get 2 amazing units. This is a good thing. The other piece you want to look at here, though, is value picks, and that is looking at something like Lyn. Green is already an amazing color, and if you look at the difference between summoning on this unit on a legendary banner versus on this A Hero Rises with no pity breakers, you get a huge amount of savings. If Lyn is your merge project, this is a great time to do that. And of course, the other thing is, specifically if you're looking for Lucina, if that's the only unit you want, you're in a fantastic place. And this is a way to get both orb savings and to get those focused units where you don't have to deal with pity breakers that can sometimes be very frustrating. But this kind of lets you know just the savings you get from the standard pool or from the legendaries to what this is here. I didn't bring up the specific cases of Sigurd and Ayra, but you guys can see there, like any unit that was on a legendary banner, this is a fantastic time to get them. Yes, I am looking at you, legendary Ayra +10 sad face, who showed up in my friend request, and their main unit was a +10 Níðhöggr because that's who Ayra shared with this last time. Here's your chance for redemption. It is easier to get her here than it was in that last banner. You can do it. I believe in you. Okay, this one's kind of a mess, but this really drives home a point with how good these units are. And normally what I would do here is I would take one unit that I would prioritize for each individual mode, but a lot of these units do a lot of things. For Arena, if that's your priority, if that's your favorite mode, you have Níðhöggr and Hector and Ayra and Lucina, who are all good summons for you. All of those score well and can do amazing things on top of that. For air offense, I mean, right now it is all about player phase with Lyn and Sigurd's amazing, but also if you want to do enemy phase, we talked about it, but Timerra is one of the best to be able to do that. On defense, Lyn is good there because Lyn is in almost every of these, but Lyn and Sigurd are both incredible on defense, and Níðhöggr can help you as a near savior or a far savior, and Hector, of course, adds support and is a great savior as well. You're seeing the trend here. Like, Summoner Duels is the same thing. Lucina, Ayra, Níðhöggr, and in particular the Mythic Níðhöggr there, and then Lyn, all help you there. For fodder, I narrow that down a little bit, and really, Hector and Timerra are really who you're looking for if you're looking for fodder chains, and I know that is usually more for spenders, but man, I cannot tell you how far the Attuned Peony got me last year into being able to hand out fodder. That unit was incredible. You can do similar for this banner, and I most likely am going to be targeting Hector, hoping that I can get as many of him as possible. As far as +0s, this is another one where every one of these units is good as a +0, but the rings, if you're targeting one thing, you need to get at least a copy of these rings. If you haven't already, I know we tried not to tell you there's must summons, and that is across every FEHtuber ever, because really we want you to have your barracks the way you want it. That is important. Like, this game has a lot of different things you can do with it, but the rings themselves are so powerful in helping whatever unit you want to use that I would make those a priority over anything else if those are not something you have. As far as merge projects, and this is going to be a little bit controversial, but for one thing, Níðhöggr as a mythic is absolutely a good merge project. I would argue that these rings are also an excellent merge project, though, and the reason is, yes, someone is going to tell you that +10 stats does not mean that much, until it does. There is so much in this game. If you want to think about merges, that's like giving you 5 merges. Like that's the difference. And it's in this game that we really don't do merge projects anymore because it moves so fast. It's just not designed that way. That is a way to get a brand new out-of-the-box unit at +0 and to give them a ton of extra merges that just straight from a ring that you're going to be equipping on them anyway. And I think that is incredibly valuable. Now, I have to warn you, that is most important when you're revamping older units, and that is a passion of mine. I love revamping older units. But revamping older units is also expensive. The big thing I want you to take away from this is without a doubt one of the most amazing banners we have ever had because of all of these units and how many places they are good. When you go into summoning for these, you need to be happy with the stuff you get. You need to look at this as free units that are coming your way. Take the spark and be happy with it. Grab your free unit, be good. If you're curious about building units in this Hall of Forms right here, I have a ton of simulations and I put a lot of work into giving you guys optimal use cases for each of those. Go check it out right here. Members, you are amazing. Thank you for so much that you do. Take care and schedule an appointment with your Fehologyst real soon.